Today, I have a really interesting experiment for you, and you want to stay until the end because what happened at this summer camp in 1954, it's still happening today. Imagine dropping 22 boys into a summer camp. They don't know each other, they think they are there to swim, hike, and roast marshmallows. But behind the scenes, scientists are running an experiment, quietly pulling the strings to see how fast strangers can turn into enemies. And within days, team pride turns into competition. Competition turns into anger. And soon, these kids are raiding cabins, stealing flags, and throwing rocks at each other. Not because they are cruel, but because the adults made them believe they had to win. This is the Robbers Cave experiment in 1954, a terrifying proof that conflict is not always born from hate. It can be engineered. And it's the same psychological playbook politicians, media, and big corporations still use today to divide nations, communities, and even families. It was the summer of 1954. The psychologist Muzafer Sherif and his research team brought 22 11-year-old boys to a summer camp in Robbers Cave State Park, Oklahoma. The boys were all white, middle-class Protestant kids, carefully chosen so there were no obvious social or racial differences. They didn't know they were part of an experiment. They thought it was just a regular summer camp. But Sheriff, the main researcher, had a secret plan. He wanted to see how easily humans could be divided and then how they might be brought back together. He split the boys into two groups of 11, housing them in separate cabins at opposite ends of the park. Neither group knew the other existed. For the first week, each group bonded. They hiked, they cooked, they built campfire, and came up with team names. One became the Eagles and the other the Rattlers. Inside each camp, friendship boomed, cooperation, laughter, and unity. The boys built neat, tight communities. Everything seemed perfect. And that's when the researchers dropped the bomb. After a week of peace, the two groups were introduced to each other. The staff announced a tournament: baseball, tug of war, treasure hunts, and other competitions. The winners would get trophies, pocket knives, and prizes. The losers would get nothing. It started as fun, then pride took over. The Rattlers walked around camp bragging, acting like they owned the place. The Eagles called them arrogant. Soon, trash talk turned into insults, insults turned into fights. They started burning each other's flags, raided each other's cabins, stole possessions, and vandalized property. And at one point, the boys were throwing rocks wrapped in socks. The hostility grew so bad the researchers had to separate them physically to prevent real injuries. Remember, these were 11-year-old boys, children who just days before were singing camp songs. Now they hated people they never even met a week earlier. Why? Because someone told them they had to compete. Sheriff had created a textbook example of realistic conflict theory. The idea that competition over limited resources, real or imagined, creates hostility between groups. But what's most disturbing is how fast it happened. The boys, they're not evil. They were not even that different. But once they had team names, their own flags, and goals, they stopped seeing each other as individuals, and now they're enemies. They only saw eagles and rattles, us versus them. And that was enough to start the war. It's the same formula used in politics, sports, religion, and online culture every single day. Leaders, they don't need to create hatred. They just need to draw a line and give you a side, or you pick your own side. Once the boys' hatred peaked, Sheriff moved to the next phase, reconciliation. At first, the researchers tried contact theory, simply bringing the two groups together for fun activities like watching movies or eating meals side by side. But it didn't work. They sat separately, they mocked each other, food fight broke out. Then Sheriff tried something new. He gave them shared problems that could only be solved through cooperation. The camp's water supply mysteriously broke. The only way to fix it was for both groups to follow the pipeline together. They realized the blockage was so complex it needed all 22 of them to work side by side, carrying tools and digging in sync. It was the first time their individual success getting the water was dependent not only on themselves, but also on their former enemies. They worked side by side to clear the blockage, and it worked. They started talking again. Next, their truck broke down on a remote road. They had to push it uphill together. When they finally got it moving, the boys cheered as one group for the first time. Slowly, the competition melted. By the end of the camp, they were eating meals together, sharing tents, and singing songs as one big team. The experiment had come to a full circle, from peace to war and back to peace again. Sherif's conclusion was simple but devastating. Hatred doesn't come from difference, it comes from separation. When people are divided by borders, beliefs, religion, or teams, they start exaggerating their own goodness and assuming the worst about the other side. But that's not morality, it's tribalism. It's the brain's shortcut for survival. Protect your group, distrust the rest. But the study also showed something powerful, that cooperation can erase division faster than ideology can. Give people a shared goal, something that requires them to work together, and suddenly the line between us and them disappears. The Robbers Cave experiment didn't end in 1954. It's still running, but on a global scale. You see it in politics, where parties pit citizens against each other with slogans like, oh, real Americans, or true believers, or real Christians. You see it in media, where outrage sells better than empathy. Headlines are written to divide, not to inform. You see it online, where the algorithm feeds us anger because it keeps us scrolling. Every echo chamber becomes a camp, the eagles and the rattles reborn. And just like those 22 boys, most people have no idea they are being played. If you want to see through the illusion of division, remember these 3 steps. Number 1, humanize the others. When you feel yourself disliking a group, picture one face, one story. It's harder to hate a person than to hate a label or a group. Number 2, look for shared goals. Instead of arguing about who's right, ask what problems do we both want to solve. Shared missions break walls faster than debates. And number 3, watch for manufactured conflict. Whenever a politician, influencer, or news outlet says they are the enemy, ask yourself, who benefits from this fight? Because someone always does. Now here's the part that often gets overlooked. The boys never questioned the system that divided them. They didn't ask, well, who made these teams? Who made the rules? They just played the game they were given. And that's what most of us do in life. We inherit sides, be it political, religious, cultural, and defend them like they are sacred truths. But we rarely stop to ask who drew these lines and why. And this is the scariest part of the Robbers Cave experiment. Not that kids fought each other, but that none of them realized they were being manipulated. At the end of the experiment, the eagles and the rattles rode home together on the same bus, singing songs and sharing snacks. They've learned what most adults never do, that the real enemy was not the other team. It was the system that taught them they need to fight. And that's the lesson that still matters today. Conflict, it's not natural, it's taught. Division, it's not destiny, it's designed. If this story opened your eyes on how easily the world creates enemies, hit subscribe to The Dark Mirror, and I'll see you on the next one.